Ghostbusters, what do you want?
Hey, it's Green Machine Comics. I had a vacation. I got 4 days off, 5 days off, 5 days off. It was great. I went to Arizona, watched the Giants lose. That part was terrible. But other than that, I had a really good time. So we got a lot of good books this week. We need to jump right into it because there is a ton of books. More importantly, there is a ton of good books. So if you're going to jump in on comics, this is the week to do it. Trust me. Let's start with Transformers #1. So let's see. Transformers, they rebooted their universe. They had not Lost Light. It was Unicron. Unicron. So after the events of Unicron, they had a battle that united the Hasbro universe. There was G.I. Joe in this battle. There was Mask in this battle. No Gem. I didn't see any Gem in there, but who knows? Maybe I missed it. However, they're starting fresh, and this picks up on Cybertron. This picks up on Cybertron well before the events of the Transformers cartoon series, I believe. Not entirely sure, but I believe. Optimus Prime is called Orion because he's not a Prime yet.
Okay.
Yeah, didn't know that. Let's see. Megatron is in there. It's sort of a political battle is going on, and there's a new character named, it's a new Transformer. I'm not entirely sure if it's a new character because I didn't follow Transformers super closely, but there's a character named Rubble, and Rubble is a newly minted Transformer, pretty much excited to be alive, hasn't even picked a secondary form yet, and Bumblebee is showing him the ropes. But I seem to remember, wasn't there a character named Rubble that was one of Soundwave's tapes that transformed?
I can't recall.
I seem to remember one, but I'm not entirely sure. So, anyways, this story was great. It is great. The art is not as good as Lost Light. I mean, Lost Light is really sort of the peak of Transformers stories. So the art is still a little shy of that. However, the story is great. I want to know more about this early Cybertron stuff, the politics going back and forth. I'm excited about this. I'm fully on board, and I think if you even have a hint of liking Transformers, you should be jumping in on this book. It was great. Next, we're going to talk about another one that I'm happy to see, and that is Goon. So if you don't know, Goon is a long-running comic by Eric Powell and Rachel Cohen, and Eric Powell is the guy that does Hillbilly, and Hillbilly has been just an amazing delight. I love Hillbilly, and I think it's the writing is really great, and the art is very, very beautiful, and this is the same type of thing. In fact, I think Eric Powell loves writing accents. That dude loves writing accents and dialogue. That is clearly one of his things, and that's this is a very, very strong showing for Goon. So basically, Goon he comes back to the town with no name, and he gets thrown off a boat. And he says, hey, we're back. And he goes to visit a bar, and he's like, well, I destroyed all the dark supernatural things, and all the townspeople start laughing. He's like, well, what do you mean? I destroyed the stuff. I ran these things out of town. And they're like, you might have destroyed the stuff and ended the big king monster. I can't remember what it's called. But that didn't fix our problems. Now we got more gangs, and we got more bosses and stuff like that. So it sets the stage for letting Goon do what Goon does. And I like that. There was a lot of action in this. There's a good story to this. I want to see more. I'm happy the Goon is back. So go out and pick this up. This is a damn fine showing. Next, we're going to talk about perhaps my favorite book of the week. But I don't hide that I am a giant fan of the Red Hood. I'm a huge fan of Red Hood. However, the variant this week I think is much cooler than the mainline book. But let's talk about this real fast. So the Penguin has disappeared, and Red Hood shows up and takes over Iceberg Lounge. What? Yeah, the Penguin's casino. He takes it over. And okay. Let's talk about what's happened. Batman and Red Hood fought, and Batman pretty much threw him out of Gotham and said, don't come back. Right. I think they had 2 fights actually, and both of them were over in a heartbeat. It was maybe half a page, done. And so he got thrown out of Gotham. Well, the good news is Iceberg Lounge is 5 miles offshore of Gotham. So it kind of is outside of Gotham. And so not only did he, set up the Iceberg Lounge, he's got that new wingman who is rocking his suit. And there hasn't been an explanation as to who this person is, and I can't remember if there was an explanation further back, but they distinctly say that he hasn't asked him to explain it yet. So I don't think there's an explanation for that, but that's going to be filled out. He rescued a few people, they're helping him. On top of that, some old baddies that he used to fight, he's filled the casino with them. He's using them as muscle and entertainment. He's pretty much being a crime kingpin. What a shocker! Yeah, and there is probably an ulterior motive because he found out that Penguin was his dad's boss. His dad was a henchman for the Penguin, and the whole reason Jason Todd's life was miserable was because of the Penguin and that event. So he shot Penguin in the eye, shot him in the face, tried to legitimately kill him. So no doubt this is gonna put Red Hood on a collision course with both Penguin and Batman. Yeah. So go out and read this book. It's damn good. Oh, man, it was so good. And again, the variant, if you can get a hold of it, we've only got one copy left. This variant is honestly better than the main book. I like this art a lot better. So go pick that up. Next, we're going to talk about Justice League Dark. And I was really torn by this cover. Because there's a character I like that has been notoriously a villain and sort of goes back and forth. And that's Jason Blood, who is Etrigan.
Yes.
Gone the form of man, rise the demon Etrigan. And bad news, because it says on the cover that Etrigan is finished. So I hope that's not permanent, but who knows? But Dr. Fate is the bad guy, and not only is Dr. Fate the bad guy, it turns out there are other artifacts that have been strewn throughout the world that link other people to the god. What's his name? Nabu, I think. Nabu. And so there are multiple Dr. Fates in play, and they're evil. They are messed up. And so all the magic users have been running from that. They've been running from the other kind, which are these sort of primordial evil creatures that have been waiting for an opportunity to destroy magic and kill magic users in this world, and now they have it because of the Witching Hour event with Wonder Woman. So there is a lot in play here. They evacuated the Oblivion Bar for the third time in the last year. So they evacuated that, and that's where this picks off, where they go for the evacuation. I can't remember the name of the land. It's a magic land. It's called Mira, Myrra. Not to be confused with Mira, who dates Aquaman. Yeah, this is a fantasy land, a magic land. So that's in play. I think it stands to reason that of all the people to turn dark, that could be a real big giant problem for the DC Universe, Dr. Fate is probably one of the worst. Yeah. So I'm excited to see this. I honestly like seeing him as a villain because, frankly, I've never dug Dr. Fate comics. It's never really appealed to me for whatever reason. So I like seeing him as a bad guy. In fact, one of my favorite Dr. Fate things ever is him versus Harley. When Harley goes why do you call yourself Doctor? Some of us have earned that title. And so, anyways, Justice League Dark is amazing. It is outstanding. I've had a great time with this. I don't necessarily think you should jump in on this book. I think you should go buy the last one because the last one you get to see the evacuation of the Oblivion Bar. And I love the Oblivion Bar. I wish it was utilized more. But go pick up Justice League Dark. If for nothing else, because hopefully it's not, but this might be the last time we see Jason Blood Etrigan. Sadness? Yeah. Next is another book that we are wrapping up something here. This is the wrap-up for it. This is the first arc is finished on Blackbird, and it explains so much. So there was the main character, she finds out that she's been a fan of Magic and Paragons, a game that's centered around Magic users called Paragons, and it turns out all that stuff was real. And she comes to find out that her mother, who she thought was dead, was running one of the big Magic cabals, which is wizard clans type stuff. And so it turns out LA is divided into these different sections, and the wizards have little hideaways. Legitimately, one of them goes into a grocery store and opens up the grocery store doors, like one of the freezer doors and like walks into it, and there's like a hideaway there. There's like a taco truck. Her favorite taco truck turns out to be like a club entrance to like a wizard club. So there is all this dope stuff. It's so cool. What Sam Humphries and Jen Bartel have done here has been amazing. And this is the wrap-up of it. She made a deal in the last book that she was going to become a paragon for the Zon Cabal. They would help her face her mother and find out why her mother has kept all this stuff from her, has kept her death from her. And so that's where this picks up. And it is outstanding. I had the best time with this run. I had the best time with this art. Like, even if the writing was trash, the artwork has been nothing short of spectacular. I mean, you can tell from the cover. It's beautiful artwork. And frankly, I'd be lying if I said that the writing didn't match the artwork. Like, this is a gourmet comic book. Go pick this up by Image right now. So Blackbird, the end of the first arc is finished. It has set the stage for so much. I can't wait to hear more from Jen Bartel and Sam Humphries. Had a great time. Go grab this book. We've got back issues if you need them. Next, Wonder Twins. And we need to talk about that first Wonder Twins, right?
Yes.
So the Wonder Twins are teens from another world that basically had to flee their other world. Is my mic close enough this whole time? It's been good enough? Can I move it closer?
Hit your head on?
I don't know that it's been loud enough. I worry that maybe it wasn't loud enough. But okay, so the Wonder Twins, they are teenagers from another planet. They have special powers. One can transform into animals, and the other one can transform into water. Wow. So, and they're very awkward. They've always been awkward characters. Going back to that old, like, Justice League comic. I mean, not comic, cartoon.
Cartoon, yeah.
Way, way back in the day. Before I was born, for sure. They were awkward characters. And this capitalizes on it. Like, they are so awkward and so funny. And I love it. So they have to go up against the, I want to say B team, but really they're more like a D team. They're the Legion of Doom's D team, which is called the League of Annoyance. And like the villains are completely hysterical and kind of disturbing. Like one of them's called Scrambler, and he's got like just an egg on his chest, but he can like mind scramble people and like swap bodies. And then the other one is called, hold up, I gotta find it. Miss Amphetamine. Miss Amphetamine, she stayed up all night working on her plan.
Oh, God.
Oh, God. And then there's a recovering alcoholic vampire because he keeps getting drunk when he's drinking people's blood because, he drinks people after dark, so they've all been drinking. So he's an alcoholic. And his real name is like Count Nightblood. But everybody calls him Druncula. And it pisses him off. Like, he's so mad about it. It's so good. So what I liked about this is even though it's humorous, they did a real good take on like prison reform and the current stance of like the prison system. And they're like, why do you do this? Like, why do you put these people in prison? Like, why don't you reform them? Why don't you do anything else with them? And they're like, well, it's just how it is. Like, we put them in prison, they get released, we beat them up, we put them back. And they're like, that sucks. Like, what is your problem? And so it was a really, really smart take on it. And on top of that, it's super funny. I'm having the best time with it. The art is amazing. This is really, really good art. Russell and Byrne? How do you pronounce that last name? I don't know. I should know them better. Shouldn't I? I should. We know them from other books. But anyways, so great showing, Wonder Twins, number 2. It is not too late to jump in. They are just getting started. They just got the monkey in this book. That's all you need to know, man. So, great showing. Go check out Wonder Twins. Next is Titans. And, it's just breaking my heart to have to review this book because what do we know? It's ending. It's ending. They're axing Titans, and it's so sad, which is weird because this is a really, really good showing. I had a great time with this book, and I confess, I haven't read Titans for a couple of books, which is pretty sad to say when now they're cutting it. I feel partially responsible, but this is a good showing. What's her name? Mother Blood, I think is her name. I want to say that's her name. The magic user. I can't quite remember. She's in play. They're grappling with just dark stuff. Them being controlled, being used against themselves, And on top of that, like it says on the very last page, the end of all things is next. Oh, it's so heartbreaking. So I hate to see Titans come to an end after 36 books in the Rebirth universe, but maybe they'll be shelved for a couple of years and they'll come back. At any rate,
They'll come back with Sideways.
yeah, we still have Teen Titans, and that's not bad.
That's not bad.
But yeah, so Titans, it's not too late to grab the last couple of books. Who knows? They might go up in value, and I think they're actually pretty good stories. So next is Age of Conan Belit. I think that's how you pronounce it. Belit. This is the pirate princess in the Age of Conan universe. So if you haven't been reading the Conan books, like I don't blame you. A lot of the Conan books are associated with like older stuff. However, they're good fantasy stories in general. I don't recommend you go and read the really old stuff because they're a little dated, and that's all I'm gonna say. But the new stuff is pretty darn good. Like I'm having a good time with the what is it, Conan and Savage Sword of Conan, I think it is. And this is the third book in the one, and this is honestly the best one. I had a great time with this. So she is the daughter of a Dread Admiral, which a Dread Admiral is a pirate in the Conan universe. And so her dad is like sort of showing her the ways, and then her dad gets killed or gets sentenced to death. And so she loses her ship. She's got to like climb up from all of that. And it was a really good story, a pretty empowering story so far. Yeah, and I had a great time with this book. So ignoring the cover is very scantily clad, I gotta tell you, and that's the Conan universe has no shame for doing that sort of thing. However, most of this book does not show it like that. Like it's generally her as a young girl running around with way more clothes on. So fair warning on that. It could get a little more wild later down the line. But this first book is a great showing, so I totally recommend going out and picking up this book. Next we have Superman, Wrath of the Crime Syndicate. So I didn't get to say this last time. I wanted to spoil it, but I didn't. I was just too excited. Jonathan Kent went on vacation with his grandfather. They fell through a wormhole. His grandfather disappeared, and he was deposited in front of the Crime Syndicate, which is bad news. If you don't know who the Crime Syndicate is, they're what's the alternate reality they're in? It's Earth. Do you remember the number?
I don't remember the number.
I don't remember the number either. But the Crime Syndicate is basically a really crappy Earth where everyone is out for themselves, and that's their version of the Justice League. And they're all warped. I think Superman himself he doesn't get strength from the sun. He gets strength from darkness, and he eats kryptonite or something on the Crime Syndicate. Batman is Owlman. Yeah, Lex Luthor's the good guy. Batman is Owlman or something, and then Wonder Woman is I can't remember, but her lasso is like silver. So anyways, the Crime Syndicate is in play. Oh, the Green Lantern Crime Syndicate is one of my favorite evil versions of a character. Yeah, but so the Crime Syndicate is in play. Jonathan Kent is detailing the story of how he dealt with the Crime Syndicate and ultimately escaped. And so he's telling it to his parents. And yeah, it's been a great showing. Honestly, I wasn't too sure about Bendis' run with Superman because the beginning of it was it was a little shaky for me. It didn't feel that strong. Yeah, this has been great. Sorry, we had a technical difficulty. So as I was saying, I didn't like that they aged Jonathan Kent a little bit older. I mean, I do like his new suit. I like his new look. I think he's drawn well. I just like young Jonathan Kent. I mean, we still have Super Sons going, and I know Super Sons takes place like well before this, I think, in the timeline, but it just feels weird to me to age him further than Damian too, which kind of bothers me. So I don't know. That's my only complaint. The writing out of this book has been amazing. It is a great showing for Superman, great showing from Bendis. I'm having the best time. So go pick up Superman number 9. Next, we're going to talk about Riverdale, and we need to talk about how funny it is that there's a Riverdale comic. Because, so there used to be a named Riverdale comic back in the day, but generally the source for Riverdale, the TV show, came from Archie, right? All of the Archie comics, like all of the Archie-themed comics. So we will get people in the store that ask us for Riverdale comics, and we go like, oh, we've got Archie over here, we've got Betty and Veronica Vixens, we've got Jughead the Hunger, Vampironica, and so we show them all these books, and they're like, no, but I want Riverdale comics. And you're like, Well, I mean, like that story came from Archie. So now we have a comic titled Riverdale, and you should go pick this up. But you should know that I think this is a weaker showing than the actual Archie comic. The current Archie comic that's running is a great comic. Surprisingly good, a really good showing, and all of the Archie Madhouse stuff are really good showings. Like, I've had the best time with them. However, this is the weakest of all of them. So if you want a Riverdale comic, by all means, go out and buy this. But it's separated into two stories. I don't think the art is as strong as the other books. I don't think the writing is as strong as the other books. But then again, I could be wrong. Chaos in the comic shop. We have so much stuff going on. So Riverdale, the weakest of the Archie books. I would say go pick it up if you're a huge Archie fan. If you're not, check out Mainline Archie. I think Mainline Archie is a much better, more Riverdale-y sort of story.
666 is on the shelf right
Blossom 666. So if you like the Archie Madhouse stuff, that is creepy evil. Next is Tony Stark Iron Man. So what do we know about Tony Stark? He's got a half-brother who has, I think it's a half-brother. Maybe it's a full brother.
now. Kind of a clone now.
Yeah.
Hologram.
Yeah, he's come back to life, and when he's come back to life, he doesn't quite feel like himself. He's a changed person, so he built himself a digital world called E. Do you remember what it was called? E something? Escape. That's a stupid name, but so he's built the digital world, and pretty much something goes on in the world, and like all these people are dealing, like all these heroes are fighting this creature, and they get it handled, but then everybody is like, where the hell is Tony Stark? Like, what is his deal? Where is he? Why is he not here? They find out he's been trapped inside of Escape.
Oh.
And it goes from there. And yep. So it is his AI mother sort of keeping him. It has a warped sense that it's protecting him by keeping him in the world. And his real world mother, who he just recently discovered, is trying to combat that. And on top of that, the world that his AI mother has built is a old school Iron Man world. So it looks like old school comics. And it is a really, really cool showing. Like, it is a very, very awesome showing. Like, no joke. The Iron Man suit deploys roller skates. And literally, the people involved are like, what era is this? Like, oh my god. So this is a great showing. I hate like the other Iron Man books. I've not had the best time with them. I don't think they were the best showing, but Slott is just knocked it out of the park with this particular book. So I think this is a great jumping off point for if you want to dive into Iron Man. If you're a Marvel fan, jump in on this. If you're a DC fan and you decide you want to dip your toes in some Iron Man, this is a great book to do it with. I would heartily recommend it.
Steve, the roller skates, are they quads?
Oh man, they are the the quad metal looking ones, the super old ones. So yeah, oh man, it was so good.
That's cool, man.
Yeah, I would say if you're a collector, go pick this up just because it's such a cool piece to have.
Nice throwback, man.
Yeah. Next is Supergirl, and Supergirl has had some serious adventures. She found out the Guardians were sort of involved with the death of Krypton,
Right.
but she hasn't really figured out who pulled the trigger yet, I think. And then she found an axe of Krypton, which is like a very metal-looking axe. Like, it is a beast of an axe that she keeps using. And I love seeing Supergirl with an axe. However, I gotta tell you, this was not the strongest writing of the week. She's got to deal with sort of clones of herself, and that really entails just sort of beating the crap out of them with the axe. And then, there is one thing I did think was cool was there is a God, what are they called? Starfire's species. No, I can't remember the name. It's gonna drive me nuts. Oh man, I totally Temerian. Temerian. That's what it is, right? Okay. So, anyways, she's hanging out with one of their species, and like at one point she asked for an overcharge because they give off sunlight, they give off like firepower and everything, and he kisses her, which was pretty wild to see. So, and then she's had like sort of a fling with another guy in this story, that green skinned dude. So there's sort of a weird little love triangle going on in this story. However, I gotta tell you, it wasn't the strongest of writing. If you're a Supergirl fan, jump in. If you're a DC fan and you're deciding you want to try some Supergirl, this is not the best showing. It's not the best place to jump in. It's about mid-event too. I didn't have the best time with it. If you're a Marvel fan, wholly skippable. What's not skippable though is this variant. That is an amazing variant. Like,
They've really been bringing it with that one, Batgirl, Catwoman.
Yeah, and like a lot of the Detective Comics and the Red Hood variants, like, man, DC is killing it with their variant game. And I think it's just the whole removing the logos and everything.
Yeah, it lets the artist like really explore the canvas.
I've loved it. So now we'll talk about a book that I'm super excited to talk about, and that is the Grim Knight. And oh my God, that variant too. DC is killing it with their variants. So if you don't know who the Grim Knight is, the Grim Knight is basically an alternate time, an alternate world of Batman in the Dark Multiverse, and this is basically the world where when Batman's parents were shot, and the gun was dropped in the alley. This is the Bruce Wayne that picked up the gun, and so this goes into his backstory and basically explains who the Grim Knight was and how he came to be and who his greatest foe is. Who do you think the Grim Knight's greatest foe would be? Nope. Nope.
Okay. Sensors?
Nope. Let's think about this, okay? He kills all of the villains. His world does not have a supervillain problem. At least Gotham doesn't, because he's murdering them. So, well, that's a safe assumption. Okay. But who would have a problem with Batman killing criminals? Well, yeah, definitely. He'd be one of them, but I don't think he's his greatest foe. There's another player in there, but I'm not going to spoil it. But his greatest foe is somebody else, and so he's gone ahead and kidnapped this other greatest foe. And him and the Batman Who Laughs apparently don't have similar goals. So they're clashing a little. So one of them might actually betray the other. I don't know. I got to wait and see. I love the Grim Knight. The Grim Knight is basically, I can't imagine anything worse or anything more destructive, I guess I should say. Because the Punisher is destructive enough. A Batman version of the Punisher seems like the most monstrous OP thing there ever was. So, yeah, good showing. The Grim Knight is a great showing. If you want to get on board with this, let us know. We're going to be calling all of our subs who are Batman Who Laughs subscribers and asking them if they want a copy of this. So I don't know how many copies we're going to have left, so come in and pick these up as soon as you can. Next, we're going to talk about the Age of X-Men stuff. And I'm starting to worry. Yeah. I really like the Age of X-Men stuff. It's basically a dystopian universe put together by X-Men. There's some rules. Everything seems nice, hunky-dory, safe for mutants. Everyone is a mutant. However, people are not born anymore. Love does not happen. Relationships are outlawed. Guns are outlawed. So that the last book we saw Bishop in jail because guns were outlawed, because he loves guns. Bishop loves the Second Amendment. Let's be honest. So this is Apocalypse and the Extracts. And so this will be a subversive force against the whole utopia, dystopia reality. Okay. And they're led by Apocalypse, but doesn't that look kind of psychedelic?
Yes.
It should, because his role is Timothy Leary. He legitimately says, tune in, or what is it? Turn on, tune in, and drop out. There you go. Yeah. So he legitimately says that. So that is funny and worth picking up the book. And I didn't have a terrible time with this, but I don't think that they've learned anything from the sins of the past. Like, we went from too many X-Men books to where they consolidated Uncanny, and Uncanny is a great showing. And now we're getting a lot of X-Men books again. Yeah. And it's starting to feel like event fatigue. And I don't think, is this an event?
No,
like, I didn't think it was supposed to be an event, but it's feeling like event fatigue. So I'm a little tiny bit bothered by this. There's too many books. And Marvel, I'm sorry, but Marvel does this to us all the time. DC is good about this. If there is an event, we will get the event will cross through DC Books. So we get like, what was the spinoff for Heroes in Crisis we got? The Price?
Price, yeah.
The Price was a mini event, and it took place over, it was 4 issues. It went through Batman and Flash. They didn't start new books for this event. They just, wow, we've got a lot of excitement in the comic shop. They didn't start new books for this. They just ran the event through current books, and that's fine. That's easier on us. That's easier on the consumers. It doesn't cost a lot of money. It doesn't confuse a lot of people. However, Marvel loves to start a billion new books for events like Infinity Wars. How many books did we have for that? We had a giant amount of books. I don't even know how many. And for the upcoming event, War of the Realms, which looks good. I do want to see a fantasy take on these heroes. I do not want to have 12 different books for it. And then what happens if Diamond misses a shipment, which happened with Infinity Wars? We missed out on one of our books, and then our poor subs are a little confused because they missed a chunk of the story. So I don't like that Marvel does that. And I'm sorry, I shouldn't bite the hand that feeds and complain about it, but it really bothers me. So, okay. This is starting to feel like event fatigue. That doesn't mean that this is not a bad book, but I'm already worn out on that. Now, all of these books are only on book 1, right? I think they're supposed to go up to 5 issues. So I'm a little nervous about this. I don't think it's too late to get in on these Age of X-Men books. We've got some back issues. It's a great story so far. I'm just a little nervous that it's going to wear you out. So we'll see. Next is Rick and Morty presents Jerry. Now we had... Yeah, Jerry. So if you don't know the Rick and Morty universe... Excuse me, too much ramen. If you don't know the Rick and Morty universe, Jerry is the father. He went through a separation. He's a pretty weak-willed person. A simpleton. He's not as smart as the other characters. But one of the things is Jerry's sort of a clutch hitter. Like, when he gets into a bad situation, he'll still pull it together for the family. And so this is his story. And, Rick and Morty... has not been the best showing. The Rick and Morty Dungeons and Dragons was amazing, was absolutely great. The Rick and Morty mainline has not been that great. I don't know what the deal is. Maybe I'm just not a big enough fanboy. Pickle Rick was pretty good. I'm happy to say that Rick and Morty Jerry is a pretty good showing. I didn't have a terrible time with it. I would say it was all right. A good showing. Not a great showing, but a good showing. The art, you know what to expect from the art. It shouldn't shock you that it looks like the cartoon show. The story's pretty good. Pretty good. Jerry sort of gets his footing. I like the story. I love the characters. I don't think we're going to get another Jerry book. I think this is just... Is this just mainline Rick and Morty that just sort of do these sort of side stories? Or is this a separate book?
I think this is a separate book.
Maybe. It's not a number, so it's probably, issue 1. So this is separate. It's a one-shot. Go pick this up, though. If you want a Rick and Morty story, go pick this up. If you decide you're going to dip your toes in Rick and Morty, I would say it's pretty good. It's a pretty good one-shot.
I don't know about the trade that's coming out with that.
Oh, we've got Rick and Morty Dungeons and Dragons trade, and it was great. The Rick and Morty Dungeons and Dragons event was outstanding. Was so good. Them treating Dungeons and Dragons dice like drugs, where they're like, "Are you holding? Are you holding, man?" So good. Okay. Next, we're going to talk about Spider-Gwen Go Spider. And so I had a really good time with Spider-Gwen. All the other books building up to this. She's gone through a lot. She's been arrested, so everybody knows that she's Gwen Stacy. They call her Spider-Woman, or sometimes Gwen, or sometimes Spider-Gwen. The whole world knows her identity. So she's sort of gripping with being a kind of celebrity and trying to have a regular life. And she's also in a band that's fairly popular, but she doesn't like that she doesn't like showing off and stuff like that. Her suit is a symbiote suit, and I'm not sure, but I think her suit might be malfunctioning or something else might be going on. So that's what this is leading up. It was a pretty interesting story. It felt a bit like filler. The stuff she was doing was not important, but I think there is the underlying message that something is going on with her suit. So I can't wait to see more. this has been a good showing. I think the Spider-Gwen stuff in Spider-Geddon felt entirely like filler and did not have the best time with it. However, I got to tell you, this Maguire writing has been great. So I had a really good time with this. Nothing to complain about here. If you're a Spider-Gwen fan, jump in. If you're a Spider-Man fan, jump in. If you're a Marvel fan and you want some Spider-Man stuff or Spider-Woman stuff, jump in. This has been outstanding. But I'm a huge Spider-Gwen fanboy. So kind of take it with a grain of salt. DC fans, I think you'd have a good time. Okay, next is Spider-Man Deadpool. And oh man, another book that's coming to an end. But what's going on with this? They missed an apocalyptic event. It was the Crisis.
Oh, the cover from the last one?
Yeah, the Infinite something on Crisis. Do you remember the name of it?
Infinite House of Civil Yet Secret Crisis War Invasion.
Infinite House of Civil Yet Secret Wars Crisis Invasion. Nice. Nice. So this was the last one. So they missed that event. They showed up, they missed that event, and lo and behold, Deadpool cannot break the fourth wall. He cannot read the writing that's going on. He cannot see any of the narration. He doesn't feel like he's in a comic book. He feels like he's a regular character. And he's come to the conclusion that his series has been canceled. And that's a right conclusion. That's correct. They've got 3 more books left. So this has been a great showing. Like, honestly, the Spider-Man Deadpool stuff has been awesome. I haven't had a bad time with it. I'm not sure why it's not selling that well. When it started, it was so strong. The bromance is still here. Come pick up the bromance between Spider-Man and Deadpool. It's outstanding. So I had a good time with that book. I didn't go into too many details on that book. What the heck? Next is the unbeatable Squirrel Girl. And she's up against Kang. Kang is such a cheesy villain. Do you remember Kang? Is that actually his name? Kang the Conqueror, I think, is Flash Gordon. Yeah. So this is just Kang, and Kang is sort of a time-displaced villain, so he may show up at any timeline doing anything. Oh, the best part about this book, the absolute best part about this book, is Squirrel Girl is trying to figure out who Kang is, and I was trying to refresh my memory. So she pulls out Deadpool's Guide to Supervillains, and it's a card. She thumbs through the cards, and she goes to Kang, and it's like, okay, so this guy's history is incredibly complicated, but basically he's a time traveler from the future who has time traveled so much that there's several different versions of him running around history at any given point in a time. And I thought that was great. It's like, this guy is a really weird character. Here's why he's weird, and goes into explain it. I loved it. Honestly, the Unbeatable Squirrel Girl has been a pretty fun run. I would recommend this for anyone who is younger, like a tween age, I'd say, maybe even teenage. Unbeatable Squirrel Girl has been notoriously pretty good, and this is no different. She's funny. There's a very sort of Deadpool, like a non-pervy Deadpool feel to it. So I have a really good time with Unbeatable Squirrel Girl, and I can't recommend this enough. I would say this is good. I would bring this home to my stepdaughter and let her read it. It's a great book for young girls.
That is Kang the Conqueror.
It is Kang the Conqueror? It is? Okay, there you go.
That's still wild.
So who am I thinking of?
I'm trying to remember too.
That Flash Gordon villain, I can see him in my head. The current Baycon con chair dressed up as that Flash Gordon villain. I've clearly got his name mixed up. Next, we're going to talk about someone who I love, and I confess I watched a lot of the movies when I was a kid. And isn't he responsible for early comics? Because he was one of the first ones with branding. Yep. And that is Zorro. Yeah, and oddly enough, it felt like I was watching those old movies. It has a very, very sort of
Serial kind of feel to it. Huh?
it just feels like Zorro.
Yeah.
And so you know the recipe if you've ever seen him, troubled town, townspeople having problems. It could be anything from crime syndicate to whatever else. And this one, it's undead looking monsters, which is a little different. And so he's got to deal with it. While he's dealing with it, he keeps his honor. He rescues the girl. He does all that fun stuff. And the whole time, every villain he crosses paths with gets branded with a Z. And so that's Zorro. And I had such a good time with this book. Granted, I don't think this is for everyone. I think if you're a younger generation that didn't see any of those old movies, you probably won't like this. But if you're a guy like me, if you've got fond memories of early Saturday mornings before cartoons came on, watching Zorro and stuff like that was my jam, you'll have a great time with this book. Next is The Amazing Spider-Man, and I didn't think I was going to have as good of a time as I did with this.
Okay.
I didn't think so at all. So this is Kraven the Hunter. What do we know about Kraven the Hunter? He's a very old Spider-Man character. I mean, I very old to me, probably not very old to everyone else, but I remember him, I think, from the 80s.
Looks like he came out like a discotheque.
Yeah, he was a wild, like, wearing, like, animal skins and, like, yeah, and everybody was, like, nervous about him. So Kraven is basically, he would hunt everything. He would hunt everything from animals to, like, actual people and, like, heroes and stuff. And there was a prophecy that said he couldn't be killed by anyone but the spider. So, of course, like, back in the day, he went and fought Spider-Man because, that's who could kill him. And I think it actually happened. And so this takes place, he references that, but he's back from the dead, and he's not really doing one last hunt. He says he's not doing one last hunt, but it seems like he's set up for one last hunt. But he basically, I think he's given up on life, and he's doing suicide by Spider-Man because the world's changed, and it doesn't really fit him anymore. And he misses the old world. So I think that's what they're building towards. It feels like suicide by Spider-Man. That's pretty wild and pretty dark. And oddly enough, like, I want them to explore this because I don't think this is a topic that gets touched on too often. And it's a little creepy and a little messed up, and I want to see how this plays out. I honestly don't know how it's going to play out, and I'm excited to see it. And more importantly, I didn't think I was going to be as invested in Kraven, and I'm totally on board. I'm having a great time with this book. So as a Marvel fan, you should be picking this up. As a DC fan, if you want to dip your toes in some Spider-Man that is good, Amazing Spider-Man right now is a pretty good showing. Next, we're going to talk about Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So Buffy's back, and things have changed. It's no longer in the 90s. They've pushed back its current time frame. And in fact, it's pretty funny that they make fun of the 90s as being dated now, even though they're from the 90s. That's a little weird. How they meet is different. All of the characters are different. Xander is running around with a shovel, beating things, and wearing an outfit that looks very similar to Ash from Evil Dead and Army of Darkness. Yeah, it's pretty wild. So that's happening. Anya's already got the magic store. It's already been revealed that Giles plays the guitar, which is weird. Like that doesn't happen till later on in the series. What else happens? The way Xander and Willow meet is different. Spike is already in play. Everything is great about this. Things are happening in different ways with the same characters, and I love it. I love it. You've built all these great characters, and instead of setting them out to pasture and being like, that's the end of them, we've got them back for new stories and new twists. So, great showing by Buffy. Okay, next we're going to talk about one of my favorite books out of this week, which is Shuri. Now, Shuri, I wasn't so sure about it first. The first couple issues seemed a little campy, and I wasn't too sure. And then it got really, really fun, and I wasn't too sure about the art. The art hasn't changed. I'm still sort of on the fence about the art. I go from liking it to not liking it to liking it again. I'm not sure why. I have no idea why. However, the story is great. I'm having a great time with Shuri. What do we know? She's been to the underworld, I guess. Yep. She sees the spirits of the elders.
Projected to space.
Yep. She can transform into crows or ravens, I guess. Ravens. And there's a lot of really cool stuff with this character. She's doing the inventor thing, and if you can't tell from the cover, she meets up with one of my favorite characters, Miles Morales.
Oh, hey,
that's great. It's like we've got the young Marvel characters uniting for a story in this. And it's a great showing. I had a really good time. I wasn't bored at all with the story. It's fun. And they might be meeting up with another young character at the end of this. So I think it's a great showing, and I like what they're doing with this book. And what I like, too, about Shuri is, like, she doesn't accept more power. Like, whereas the other Marvel books, it feels like they're jumping into other power. Like, they offer her being the new Black Panther, and she's like, well, I've done that before. Let me think on it. Let me wait. And so she's building a new suit. On top of that, she's sort of like delaying it, and she's even pretending to be like the current Black Panther. Like she's pretended to some of the other I want to say countries that sort of she had to deal with. She sort of said she was Black Panther when she's not, because that's what they expect out of Wakanda. So I like this. There's a lot of Wakanda politics. There's a really good showing. These characters are great. I had a fun time. So Shuri number 6, go pick it up. I don't know why we're not selling. Why aren't they all flying off the shelves? It's great, and this one is a good jumping off point too. So go pick it up. Next is the Uncanny X-Men Winter's End, and it's weird. It's weird. I wanted to like this book, and I'm gonna spoil part of it, but it was a little weird. Okay. So it's a couple of stories. Well, no, one big story. Yeah, one big story.
Weird writing?
Weird writing. It was a little confusing at times. I wasn't really sold on the art. I don't know why we needed another Uncanny book when Rosenberg's doing so good, but whatever. However, what was weird about it was it shows a future version of Iceman. So he's pretty aged. He's been through some stuff. And he has a relationship with Daken.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Wolverine's son.
The bad guy?
Yeah, and Bobby Drake is quite a bit older. So it was a little weird. I don't know. I just think Bobby Drake can do better than Daken. I don't know. I didn't have the best time with this book. I think it was a little confusing, and the art didn't really sell me on it. Maybe that's because when paired up against the mainline Uncanny title, it's a poor showing, but the mainline Uncanny title is like some gourmet comics. Like, it's some top-tier stuff. But, hey, I do want to see more, so if this is not a one-shot, I will read another comic and trip report it for you and let you know if it's gotten a little better. That's all I can say. It was okay. If you're a Mutant fan, you should probably jump in. You're probably going to jump in. If you're anyone else, I think it's wholly skippable. Next is X-23. And let's see. So we found out that they were making clones of X-23. Right. So, and it's not just, X-23 Honey Badger, but there was like a cyborg version of them running around that couldn't talk. And then there was like billions of them, like robot billions of them. And so they've got to fight that. And it wasn't... it felt very action movie-ish. The other books had a lot of depth to them. This one felt like an 80s action movie, and that's not bad. I like a lot of action in my comics, but the storyline was not the best. It wasn't the best wrap-up for that event. I kind of wanted to see a little more of that event before they, wrapped it up, but whatever. It happened, and the way it happened was very 80s. What is the most 80s action thing you think they can do?
Big explosion as you walk away slowly?
Some of that, yeah. Okay. But there was another thing involving a helicopter. And
shooting it down with a pistol?
No, what always happens with the helicopters in the 80s? As they take off.
What happened? Oh.
So that happens.
Okay.
I don't know. It's some 80s action, and you know what? It was fun. I didn't have a bad time, and frankly, Honey Badger is one of my favorite characters. I'm doing that fantasy comic lead, and I picked Honey Badger as like my rep, and so I love Honey Badger, but she doesn't rescue a lot of people, which is like one of the points.
Yeah, that's right.
She tends to fight a lot of people, so yeah. But so, anyways, if you're a Mutant fan, you should be on board with this. More people should be reading this X-23 stuff because it's good. It's really good. Keep in mind, this book, very actiony. The other books were pretty fleshed out. I had a great time with them. So X-23 number 10, I'd say go pick it up. But keep in mind, it's wrapping up an event. It wasn't terribly confusing, but it's wrapping up an event. So if you wait one book, that's the good jumping in point. Next is a book by Image called Little Bird. And this is, well, it's weird. It's weird. I want to know more. It's an apocalyptic Earth where sort of the United States has become very religious, super religious. Killing people in the name of God religious with like guns with like crosses on them type religious. it's kind of wild. On top of that, there is a character named the Axe who wields a.
Sword?
Yeah, no, that would be weird. Wields an axe. And so basically, Little Bird's mom gets captured, and she's in this post-apocalyptic USA sort of thing, and she's got to go find the axe. And she goes into a prison, and post-apocalyptic. What would you expect to see in the prison? Like just some,
Roman games of cannibals?
yeah, some weird post-apocalyptic, like Mad Max type stuff. No, there are superheroes jailed in that prison, and weird-looking mutant superhero things, and it's a strange book. I don't know where they were going. It didn't feel like there was a real direction. It just felt like they threw a bunch of stuff in and, sort of ran with it. And the art was not the best showing, it's weird, but it felt a little more R. Crumb than I like in my comics, which I think is one of my complaints with the current Green Lantern run. Which, I mean, it's Morrison. It's going to be good, but I don't really like the art. I don't know, and that's a personal opinion. You might fall in love with this book, but I would say it's okay at best. It's hard to say that. A lot of other stuff coming out of Image these days is great. That one, I'm going to give it another book. And thank you, Diamond, for ripping one of our copies. Sorry. I know they don't do it on purpose. It just happens.
Yeah.
Next is Go-Go Power Rangers, and I don't think I've reviewed a Power Rangers book, have I?
It's been a while. I think you did Chad before the YouTube days.
Did I?
No, it might have been.
I think I read it. I don't know if that I reviewed it.
Good point.
Man, I don't think I have.
Here we go.
This is a good showing. So what do we know about the Power Rangers? They've got Zordon. They've got Alpha. Remember the robot Alpha? Oh, yeah, bumbling Alpha. And Alpha's name is actually Alpha 5. And the Alpha in this, there's another one. There's Alpha 1. And Alpha 1 was like a robot that fought for Zordon before the Power Rangers, which is pretty cool. But I gotta tell you, let me show you his face. Let me show you Alpha 1's face, and I'll show the readers at home too. Let's see here. If I can find him. Check out his face. He looks like some weird evil thing from the 80s or something.
Yeah.
So,
Look like Alpha 5.
I'm not saying that Alpha 1 is going to turn out evil, but he looks pretty evil to me, and I kind of see that coming. So, I don't know. But on top of that, there's Rita Repulsa is in this, and she's sort of dealing with her mom and trying to unlock a power coin. Yeah, and she's trying to unlock a power coin, which would be really messed up if we saw Power Ranger Rita. And Goldar's there. I don't know. As a person who has never been super into the Power Rangers, I had a student who would quiz me on the Power Rangers and made me memorize everything. Power Rangers Zeal, Power Rangers in Space, Power Rangers Time Force, Space Police, Power Rangers Dino Thunder. Like, I had them all memorized and was not big into the fandom. However, this was a good showing. I had a great time with this book. I loved it. I got to tell you. I think Mighty Morphin Power Rangers is still the stronger of the comic books on our shelf, but Go-Go Power Rangers is a darn fine showing. And the art is outstanding. I had a great time with the art. It was really fun. So go check out Go-Go Power Rangers number 18. Good showing.
I just love that. Power Rangers in space.
Oh, man. No, it's okay. My eye is being weird. I had to rub my eye. Let me see. What was I going to say about Power Rangers? I forget. Anyways, Power Rangers. Oh, we have Power Rangers 17. For some reason, we didn't get the last one, and they sent us not only the regular ones, but the variants. And I think there was a reason for it, because it was called, like, Mix and Match. Whatever the title of the comic was. So we've got these two, like, really cool variants to go with the actual book. So if you didn't get Power Rangers, Go-Go Power Rangers 17, come pick it up. We got some good ones, too. Next, we're going to talk about Wolverine the Long Night. And this is very weird. It's an Alaskan town, and it deals with a cult is in play. Somebody is doing drugs, I think, or selling drugs using the fishing boats and stuff to export drugs, I think is what it is. Some of the families are corrupt. On top of that, Wolverine is in the middle of the town, so he is beaten up. Like he keeps getting drawn into these fights with all these corrupt things in play. And there's a big bear. And I gotta tell you, if I had $1 for every single time I've seen Wolverine in this pose and there being like a bear or some kind of wild animal on the cover that he's fighting, I'd be a millionaire, right?
Yeah.
Because they love doing that with Wolverine. And it looks like he fights the bear, right? Sorry. Doesn't fight the bear. I wanted this story to be like some kind of like man versus beast, man versus wilderness, Call of the Wild type thing. Because you got that with Alaska, right? But no, it just feels like it's a really corrupt town. And they're sort of, they all keep poking the bear with Wolverine. Poking the bear. Literally poking the Wolverine. And so he's just sort of like starting to boil. And I like what they're doing. I think that's an okay story. I just felt like it's kind of a missed opportunity, for me anyways. However, I will say that Wolverine the Long Night has been pretty good. I've had more fun with this than I did with Return of Wolverine, which is weird. But it's the truth. Next is a book that I love. And I don't hide it. I don't ever hide this. But I love everything they've been doing with The Punisher. So The Punisher, what do we know about The Punisher? He's mad at Hydra because of the events of Secret Empire, so he's like systematically killing them in really messed up ways. I think at one point, like a Hydra member says, like, if you cut off one of our heads, 3 will rise in this place. And Frank Castle says, well, let's find out. And he went up, he killed the Mandarin with a bullet that was a magic bullet. And so, like, the Mandarin was, like, trying to slow it down, and it was just very slowly moving, but he couldn't, like, move away. He was going to kill him no matter what. Then Mandarin's apprentice went up against him, so he had all his rings. And Frank cut off one of his hands. And the guy was like yelling at him. He was like, do you need a hand? It's so messed up. So he got captured by Hydra. Baron Zemo carved the Punisher symbol into his chest, which is cooler than a tattoo, I will agree. And then he had to fight his way out of Hydra's prison, and that it takes place from there. So basically, Bagalia is the crime syndicate nation, and he found out that in prison, the crime syndicate nation, the people in prison in a crime syndicate nation, tend to be the good people. So he staged a revolt. He broke out of prison, and what was cool about that, which I thought is the way Frank Castle thinks is very soldier-like. One guy didn't enact on his plan, so he didn't wind up killing a bunch of the guards in the prison, and it came back to haunt them. Like, some of his friends got killed, and Frank Castle breaks it down. He's like, there's no shame in not being able to pull that trigger. Like, I feel you, but realize that some of your friends are not walking now because of what you did. And it was like, whoa, like, Punisher is, the writer gets it. And that's Rosenberg, of course. Like, Rosenberg is just, that guy writes action so well. So The Punisher is a must-buy if you're a Punisher fan. If you're a Marvel fan, this is a darn good book. You need to jump in. If you're a DC fan and you like Red Hood is your cup of tea. Or I would argue maybe even some of the Batman Who Laughs and the Grim Knight. And what else? Well, you know who you are. If you like gunplay stuff, The Punisher is your jam too. Okay, our next book is Old Man Quill. I had to get a drink. My throat was starting to go. Old Man Quill takes place in the Old Man Logan universe, Old Man Hawkeye universe, and I don't like those books, oddly enough. I never had a good time with Old Man Logan, Old Man Hawkeye, and I think Dead Man Logan's going, and I've had a better time with that. However, Old Man Quill is the strongest showing of the Old Man books. It's an old, jaded Quill who's basically his, his callousness, not callousness, foolishness, basically caused the death of a whole planet. And so he's sort of been coming to terms with that, and then his old team put the team back together, decided to get back together and do like one more, I don't want to say heist, but save the universe one more time type thing. Yeah, last hurrah. And it's been a really good showing. It's the old Guardians team put back together, and it's fun. I like it. I like this new, grittier Quill, and I'm having a good time with this. So Old Man Quill, yeah, go pick it up. They're dealing with, what is it, like Apocalypse Wasteland, where there are gangs based on heroes and villains, but actual heroes have been outlawed. And sort of, Doom is pretty much at the forefront of everything, and Quill is sort of like coming to terms with, hey, we might have to take out these gangs and go handle all that stuff. So I'm liking it. Having a great time with that run. Go check it out. Next is Star Wars Age of Republic, General Grievous, and I gotta tell you, this was a pretty strong showing for the Star Wars books.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't think it would be. So it's got Grievous sort of dealing with, Jedis, so he likes to kill Jedis. Everybody knows that. You've seen the meme where he goes like, I was trained by Count Dooku to fight Jedis, and then his arms just start spinning. It shows like Dooku going, just spin the lightsabers like this, like a billion times. Yeah.
Right here.
Yeah, do that. But so it was a really, really good showing. It has him killing Jedi, and yes, he does do the whole like at some times. But it also has like him going into a Jedi temple, and the way he deals with the Jedi temple traps, like he gets past them pretty easily because he doesn't give a crap about the rules. Like he never has. And then he goes into a Jedi vision, and we get to see a young Grievous before all the stuff.
Okay.
It's pretty cool, man. And then you know what he does? What do you think General Grievous does with the Jedi temple? Of course.
Yeah.
Of course he does. He burns that thing to the ground. So, okay, I saw all of that coming from the very first pages of the book. Like, I knew the second there was a Jedi temple in play, I knew Grievous was going to destroy it. No doubt. No question. But even knowing that, it was a really, really good showing. Had a great time with this book. I think if you're a Star Wars fan, you should be jumping in on this. And if you want to dip your toes in some Star Wars and you haven't before, General Grievous is a great book to do it. Granted, if you like the light side, maybe this isn't your book. Just saying. Next is a book that kind of took me by surprise. We good? Okay. Next is a book that really took me by surprise, and that was Assassination. So I got to tell you, Assassination has, on the very first page, they have the assassins ranking worldwide, and they list 20 of the best assassins. And these names are hysterical. These characters are wild. They're very strange characters, but I like how they're written. It's got like every assassin trope from every like movie and video game you've ever seen. 20 of them. So what happens when you put 20 of them together and you give them a task? What do you think happens?
Chaos.
A lot of chaos and violence. It plays out exactly how I wanted it to play out. So Assassination, it's the first book of a series, and I'm having a good time. This is from Kyle Starks and Erica Henderson. And so good showing, guys. Thank you. Good showing. I had a really good time with this book. I want to know more from Assassination. So I would say the first book is a must-buy if you're an Image fan. If you like that kind of assassin stuff, go check it out. You know who you are. Next is The Magnificent Miss Marvel. So they killed Miss Marvel's book, and they brought back Miss Marvel's book. So I'm guessing this is a new run. I haven't checked to see if the writer is different. But nonetheless, it was a pretty good showing. I had a good time with it. I didn't have the best time with the last book. I thought it was getting a little bland near the end. So I'm kind of happy that they relaunched it. And, I would be sad if they shelved Kamala Khan, because I have a really good time with some of her trades. And I'm happy to see that it's come back to this sort of fun take. And it was a little shocking. I got to tell you, the ending was a little surprise and dark.
Okay.
So that's all I'm going to say. But Magnificent Miss Marvel, go check it out. It's a good book. Last book on our series is Shredder in Hell. TMNT, Shredder in Hell. And oh my god, I never thought that this was the kind of book I would want as a kid. Because I loved the Turtles. I never thought that a story centering around the Shredder redeeming himself and being in the afterlife and separating himself from what made him evil in the first place, the dragon, the spirit of the dragon from his clan. So he sort of separated himself from that, and he's fighting himself from that, and he's fighting his way out of hell. And on top of that, there's like visions of all the other stuff. So he actually has visions of the Turtles that he has to fight, and they're perfect.
Nice.
Perfect in the sense that the writer made them cheesy. They are the worst of the Archie series, with like the over-the-top cowabunga every two panels, with the dudes and like everything else. It's very, very cheesy, and yet had a great time. They're handling this right. It's a gritty fight out of hell with some comedy relief, and I'm having a good time, so go check out Shredder in Hell. The bad news is all of our subscribers have snatched these up. So if you're not a subscriber, you need to come into our store in special order, and we will get you on the sub list for Shredder in Hell. So the last thing we're going to do is the drawing. The drawing. I put like a southern drawl on that.
That's all right.
The drawing.
Battery's dying, so we're in a little bit of a rush. Sorry about that, folks.
You might miss the drawing because the battery dies. Sorry. We'll see.
All right, here we go.
Mm.
Let's see.
160.
160 is going to be Sean Flanagan.
Sean Flanagan, you want a poster.
All right.
17.
17. All right. Carl Mueller.
Carl. Carl won a poster. I love Carl. 68.
68. That is going to be Ednalina Genesis.
Genesis, you won another poster. Ednalina Genesis. So if you are a subscriber, you get entered into this for posters. Should I leave them out? Should leave them out. And then the other thing we got going on right now, too, is if you spend $30 in the store, you are entered into a raffle to win a Big Hulk collectible. So come spend money in our store. Yeah, get a collectible. So that's going to conclude our reviews for the week. If you like this video, please like. If you really like this video, please subscribe. It helps us out. Oh, we got to talk about these real fast. So if you come into our store, you're going to see these on certain books. And this basically means new book this week. This is how we're going to denote it. We haven't decided if we're going to put like new on this, but we sort of like how it looks like this. So just know that this means new book on the shelf and come check it out. And if you don't, like, that's the secret. If you're a regular, you know this. And if not, you're going to have to ask. So there you go. Do the dance.